What's up, guys? Minicamp has come to a close, so that means this video is going to be a recap of some of the stuff that we've seen from minicamp and stuff to kind of note. Since now the minicamp's over, there's kind of a dry spell until training camp goes on. I believe there's still 6 weeks until training camp happens, which is always around the end of July. So it's going to be kind of a dry spell here, but just bear with me here because this is kind of the last stuff that's fresh that we're going to get to talk about in terms of the Saints being on the practice field. Now, if you guys saw my previous video, I did attend minicamp on Wednesday's practice, which was day 2. That was out for the fans to see. I'm not sure about day 1, but day 3, which was Thursday, they did indoors, and none of it was open to the public or anything. But since obviously I don't work for the Saints media, I don't know every single thing that happened every single day, especially day 3, because that stuff was very limited in terms of what we know. But most of the stuff I'm going to talk about today was from what I saw about from the day that I went, which was day 2, because I actually saw it in person, so I can go ahead and tell you guys what I saw in my non-biased impressions of these certain players. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that today. If you want to see some footage, like I said, my previous video, I did record some footage from day 2. I recorded some of the 7-on-7 drills. That was pretty much most of the action that we saw. And yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So now the first player I want to kind of talk about and give you guys my impressions of was Jameis Winston. Obviously, you know, when you go to a practice, you want to check out the quarterbacks and see how they're doing. Jameis Winston is kind of, I mean, obviously we know he's progressing from that ACL injury. He's not fully ramped up just yet. All the deep passes that were really thrown, which there wasn't much. The only deep passes I can remember being thrown was one from Andy Dalton that Chris Olave ended up mossing 2 defenders. He mossed Alante Taylor and he mossed JT Gray, and then they ended up kind of colliding. And then JT Gray was really slow to get up. I'm not sure. Nothing's really been said about his injury. And yeah, Andy Dalton got some action. He looked, I mean, these Andy Daltons, what do you expect? But we're talking about Jameis Winston, not Andy Dalton. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Jameis Winston did not have that great of a practice on day 2. Now, obviously, there's nothing to panic about because it's just minicamp, and like I said, he's still injured, so we'll see how that goes. But what I did see, I saw 2 dropped interceptions by Jameis Winston. Well, Jameis Winston didn't drop the interception. He threw the near interception. There was a play where Jameis Winston, I'm not exactly sure which receiver he was throwing to. It might have been Callaway, but it was someone on a slant route that Paulson Adebo was covering. Adebo undercut the route. He dropped it. It tipped up in the air. It was one of those that was in the air for like a long time. It felt like it was in the air like forever. And then somehow Chris Olave just showed up and he caught it. And then I'm not sure what the other play was that Adebo dropped, but it was just some form of route that was going to the middle of the field, and Adebo, it was basically right to Adebo, and he, once again, just dropped it. I didn't catch that one on footage, but the one that tipped up in the air and Chris Olave was just somehow able to catch, I was able to get that on camera, so that's bonus points for me, right, because I actually got something. It was really hard to record because it was so bright outside. I felt like it was 105 degrees. It wasn't 105 degrees, but it felt like it. And it was so bright that whenever I was recording, I literally could not see what was going on my phone. But like I said, I did catch some, so you guys got to give me something for that. Now, another player that really stood out to me from day 2 was Cameron Jordan. He's entering, his 11th season? 11th or 12th season, something like that. We saw Cameron Jordan really turn it on at the end of the season. As many people call him, I called him COVID Cam because he missed his very first career game last year against the New York Jets because he had COVID, and he came back against the Bucs. And at this point in the season, it's like week 15, he has 4 sacks on the year, and he ended up with 12.5 sacks, I believe, or 13.5, something like that, at the end of the season because he had 2 sacks against Tampa Bay, and he had that forced fumble against Brady. He had, I think, 2 more sacks against the Miami Dolphins. Yes, because that was a COVID game. And then he had like 4 sacks against Carolina, and then he had maybe another sack or 2 against Atlanta. So he really went crazy at the end of the year. Vintage Cameron Jordan. I kind of saw some good action from Cameron Jordan in the 7-on-7 drills. I don't think it was Jameis Winston that was the quarterback for this, but it was Andy Dalton. And it felt like he blew up every play. There was one play, I think they were doing a 2-minute drill. Cameron Jordan, he blew up the play from the start because Andy Dalton instantly scrambled to his left. And Cameron Jordan, he didn't force a fumble, but his hand was like, it was very, very, very close to the football, and Andy Dalton had no choice but to just throw it, and nothing good happened out of it. So Cameron Jordan, I'm not sure if he's going to have another career year this year. I mean, you got to think he's going to fall off eventually, and I really thought that after this previous season, we could have concluded that Cameron Jordan is officially washed. But as we saw how he ended the year, he's definitely not washed. He still has some left in the tank. And what's crazy is that I'm not exactly sure how far away he is from this, but he is very close to passing Ricky Jackson for the all-time Saints sack record, which would be awesome if he could get that. I think it's very likely, barring injury or just an insane fall-off, that he will get that this year. But yeah, Cameron Jordan, even though he's getting old, I say old, even though he's getting into his 30s, he still looks really good, and that's really exciting to see if you're a Saints fan. Now, this video isn't going to be super long or anything because we're just going to kind of go over some main highlights and, headlines for minicamp. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the attendance for the minicamp because, as you know, it's called mandatory minicamp, so you want everyone to be there. There was 100% attendance for minicamp as far as participation goes and attendance. Well, not everyone participated. I kind of worded that wrong. But everyone who was rehabbing or still coming back from injuries, they were there. Michael Thomas actually showed up on day 1 of minicamp in uniform and kind of watched practice. We've been getting some videos of Michael Thomas putting some work in. Today he did some, I'm not sure what you call it, but it's whenever you kind of jump up onto like a stair or like a box or something like that. And he was doing that with his left ankle, his left foot, because that's the ankle that's been bothering him, his really fucked up foot. And he was getting some work in with that. So I think, like everyone's been saying, like he's been saying, like Dennis Allen's been saying, the target date is still for training camp as far as his participation goes. So we talked about Michael Thomas many times throughout these recap videos and stuff. So I'm sure we'll talk a lot about Michael Thomas once training camp starts because I know we're all excited to see him get back on the field. Marcus Davenport, actually, as we know, he's always one of those players that's injured. He got recent shoulder surgery, and he had one of his fingers amputated because of some college injury. I'm not exactly sure about the details, but I think he's expected to still be back by training camp, and nothing to fully, panic about just yet. He's in the building rehabbing and stuff like that. Peyton Turner is still rehabbing, obviously our first-round pick from 2021. We saw very limited action from last year, but if y'all are smart, Peyton Turner, he's basically like Marcus Davenport. He can be really good if he plays, but his problem, at least for his rookie season, was that he hasn't played. So we'll see how that goes. Taysom Hill was also rehabbing. As we know, he's focusing on that tight end role some more, excuse me. That's what he's going to be listed as, but I think Dennis Allen has kind of said he's still going to be a jack-of-all-trades type deal. It's just that his off-season work isn't going to be at quarterback anymore. He's really going to be focusing on that Swiss Army knife role, which kind of sucks for him because he really, really wanted to focus on being a quarterback, and he really had his chance when he had that quarterback competition with Jameis Winston, but the better quarterback won, and it is probably for the best that Taysom Hill is focusing on that jack-of-all-trades role. He's rehabbing still because he had that, I believe it was that foot injury against the Falcons late in the season, but he also had all sorts of injuries happen last year, which is very uncharacteristic for him as far as his NFL career goes. We know that his college career, he suffered many, many injuries, many season-ending injuries, but that really hasn't happened in the NFL. He's been relatively healthy until this past year, but everything just didn't really go his way in terms of that, so I'm sure we'll see him get back on the field. I'm really excited to see Taysom Hill with the full offseason of focusing on as being a receiving option as well as a gadget option. So that'll be great to see as well. Another player that I kind of want to talk about briefly, I believe his name is Bryce Thompson. He's a backup defensive back. This was mostly from day 3 of minicamp, so this was the one indoors and not a lot of people saw in action. But he's been really standing out. This is someone to really note. I'm not sure he'll make the team just because of the fact that the Saints secondary is so stacked in terms of depth, and they have some really star players. Obviously, we have Lattimore, Tyrann Mathieu, Marcus May, Paulson Adebo, even the second rounder, Alontae Taylor. But he's been standing out a lot recently, so that's someone to definitely keep in mind as the roster starts to unfold into training camp and all that stuff. One more play I want to briefly mention. I kind of talked about him earlier, but Chris Olave. I talked about how he mossed someone in minicamp. Everyone has been hyping him up. Obviously, he's been our first-round pick that we traded up for, and he's going to be this great receiving option. But from my point of view, from what I saw in person from mandatory minicamp, this might be a bit of an overreaction, but I can tell you Chris Olave has been just as good as we say he's going to be. He looks insane. His route running has been great. He's caught every pass that has been thrown to him. He has not dropped it. And like I said, he's been mossing people. He's been a very reliable option as far as minicamp goes. Now, it's minicamp. This isn't padded practices or anything. The most football type activity, most intense football type activity has been the 7-on-7s. But that's still something, you know. He's getting work in, and he's doing really good. So I think Chris Olave should definitely be one of the favorites to win Rookie of the Year, in my opinion. Am I biased? Yes. But I'm really excited to see what Chris Olave does this year. I got his autograph, so I was really excited about that. If you want to see all the autographs I got, check out last video. I got 6 different autographs, which was really awesome, from minicamp on Wednesday. That's kind of all the stuff I want to talk about. Obviously, there's not a whole lot. I'm not really, I don't have notes or anything for this video. I was just kind of talking just to see how much we can get out there. And I think I'm around 10 minutes, so I think that's a good stopping point. If there's anything I missed on, let me know. Now that we kind of have a dry spell here from now on, because like I said, for the next 6 weeks, there's pretty much nothing until training camp starts. But I'm sure we'll figure out something to talk about. We can do schedule predictions maybe. We'll talk about just, we'll be speculating on how certain players will do next year. There'll be stuff to talk about. And I'm sure this won't be the only video we talk about minicamp on, because, there's not a whole lot going on for the next few weeks. So there's any players that you'd like to see me highlight from minicamp or OTAs or whatever, anything that I missed on, let me know, and I can make a separate video talking about that kind of stuff. We can talk about Alvin Kamara's legal situation maybe, or any injuries, new players, just whatever. Let me know. And let me know what you guys think of the video. Do you guys like them? I'm going to keep doing them. What do you guys want to see differently? Just anything. Let me know. And if you made it this far, appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.